President Xi Jinping and his U.S. counterpart Joe Biden met for a summit during Xi's first trip to the United States in 6 years. It is their first meeting in a year since they last met on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Bali. In opening remarks, President Xi underscored his long-standing view that cooperation between the world's two largest economies will benefit both their peoples and the rest of the world. He said China-US relations should be perceived in the broad context of global transformations unseen in a century, and pointed out that major country competition cannot solve the problems facing the two nations or the world. President Xi said the world is big enough for the two countries to succeed.
My view is consistent, which is that major country competition is not a prevailing trend of current times and cannot solve the problems facing China and the United States or the world at large. Planet Earth is big enough for the two countries to succeed, and one country's success is an opportunity for the other.
During their talks, President Xi explained Chinese modernization and its significance. President Xi made it clear that China does not have a plan to unseat the United States, but the Chinese president said the U.S. should not scheme to suppress and contain China. He said that despite differences in culture and social systems, mutual respect could pave the way for more promising relations.
It is an objective fact that China and the United States are different in history, culture, social system, and development path. However, as long as we respect each other, coexist in peace, and pursue win-win cooperation, we will be fully capable of rising above differences and find the right way for the two major countries to get along with each other. I firmly believe in the promising future of the bilateral relationship.
President Xi pointed out that mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation are the lessons learned from 50 years of China-US relations and from geopolitical conflicts in history. He called on China and the U.S. to exert more effort in putting these lessons into practice. The Chinese president proposed building together 5 pillars for better bilateral ties. First, developing a right perception of each other, so the two countries can coexist in mutual respect and peace. Second, managing disagreements and untoward incidents effectively through calm, frequent communication. Third, advancing mutually beneficial cooperation, not just in traditional areas like trade, but in emerging and urgent issues such as climate change and artificial intelligence. Fourth, shouldering responsibilities as major countries by stepping up coordination and cooperation on international and regional issues. Fifth, promoting people-to-people exchanges. President Xi Jinping also reaffirmed China's position on the Taiwan question. He told the U.S. to stop arming Taiwan and support China's peaceful reunification, stressing that China's reunification with the Taiwan region is unstoppable. On trade, he urged the U.S. to lift export controls and unilateral sanctions on Chinese economic entities, saying these actions hurt China's legitimate interests. President Xi said technological innovation is a driver of China's high-quality development. Attempts to stifle the country's technological growth are moves to contain the progress of China and its people. For his part, President Biden said it was important to keep the two countries' competition in check and called for joint efforts to tackle common challenges.
We have to ensure that competition does not veer into conflict. And we also have to manage it responsibly, that competition. That's what the United States wants and what we intend to do. I also believe it's what the world wants for both of us, candid exchange. We also have a responsibility to our people and the work in the world to work together when we see it in our interest to do so.
The U.S. president said a stable and developing China serves the interests of the U.S. and the world. President Biden reaffirmed his own 5 points. The U.S. does not seek a new Cold War or to change the Chinese system. It does not seek to strengthen alliances against China. the US does not support Taiwan independence and has no intention of conflict with China. Presidents Xi and Biden acknowledged China-US ties as the most important bilateral relationship in the world. They called on all countries to treat each other with respect, find a way to coexist peacefully, and maintain open lines of communication. They stressed the importance of preventing conflict, upholding the UN Charter, cooperating on areas of shared interest, and managing competitive aspects of the relationship. The two presidents agreed to promote dialogue and cooperation on emerging issues such as artificial intelligence and to resume high-level military-to-military communication on the basis of equality and respect. They agreed to further increase passenger flights between the US and China early next year and expand educational, student, youth, cultural, sports, and business exchanges. The two leaders will accelerate joint efforts to tackle the climate crisis in this critical decade. After the summit, President Biden hosted a lunch for President Xi, where the two leaders' discussions on international issues included the Israel-Palestine conflict. They also took a walk at Filoli Estate and agreed to maintain regular contact.